What's happening? Ronin Man here. Hilarious episode today and also very serious. So, disabled women get blue balls and they admit it. All right, so got a study here and women are protesting and saying that kind of it's not fair that disabled women are not getting sex. And I want to break this down. Okay, so pretty much we can understand that disabled women, whether in wheelchairs, there's different types they describe: blind, deaf, unable to speak, dumb, and all that. But we can assume that they understand what a vibrator is. Yeah. So these are people with a mental capacity. So we know that they, buy toilet paper, they shop, and they buy vibrators. So we can pretty much assume that these women are using vibrators every day, or as often as they prefer. Okay, but that isn't enough. And that is quite interesting right there, because when you read a report, you have to kind of there's so many in media, in modern media, it's like, it's written in a way that it's almost impossible to understand. So I'm going to give you the Ronin Man view when I read an article. So the first thing is I saw it and I was like, okay, right, these women are obviously, masturbating, right? So we know that. And you'll hear things online or from feminist groups or just media in general that isn't contradicted by anybody unless they're unusual. And then you start to see that actually it's not true. So this is a good example, because the modern kind of message is that men are quite common. Okay, I'm not saying everybody. This obviously there truly is a wide variety of sex advice and things out there, but one of the more hateful campaigns against men is that essentially men don't provide any value. Just give me the sperm and I can use a vibrator and it's going to be fine. But things like this make it really clear that women actually need a man, that there's a difference between a man and a vibrator and her fingers. Now, probably both are good. I'm sure that they wouldn't want to trade one for the other or whatever, but this is also important. It's important for men to know, because I think there's a lot of factors. In fact, I know, and this is an accepted thing, is that there's a lot of factors that affect people's moods, suicide, very serious topics like how people feel about themselves, their general satisfaction with life, their hope for the future, their use of their imagination, all these things. And it requires being wanted and being needed. When people feel, and you'll often read this when people are very, very depressed, is that nobody cares and nobody needs them. I want to squarely face the fact that when you write articles, when you propose that basically men are sexually not needed, that's a serious thing. That is a straight shot across the bow at men. And I know that men blow it off. I know that, men are used to being attacked all the time, demeaned in media, advertising, even men's products like Gillette, which is, I don't know if anybody's going to buy Gillette ever again. I hope not. I will never buy Gillette again. And I personally, I'm serious too. Don't bring Gillette to the summits. I'll tell you that. But I also I try to avoid all P&G products. And it's not out of any kind of spite or anything. It's not because I know that corporations don't really have morals. But I think it's the responsibility of a popular men's product that's very profitable to, support their customers and to care. You know what I mean? It's like this feeling that men are inherently flawed because of their DNA, and they're no good, and they're unwanted, and they're unneeded. And these kind of messages, they give boys a very sad view of the world. And I think I really believe this, guys. I really believe that this is affecting future generations. Big time. I know that these things are no joke. and they psychologically affect individuals being needed, being wanted, being appreciated, people noticing you. I mean, that's the first thing you read. Any homeless person is that nobody notices them. And anybody who has empathy for homeless people will act normal. Maybe not give them money, but we'll just say, hey, what's going on? Just talk to them and notice them as human beings instead of ignoring them, right? And that's the biggest thing you can give them, because that's really what they're missing. Any study of homeless people, there was a great one, an undercover one in the UK, where they're getting actually too much food, and the guy was gaining weight because he was getting too many sandwiches, but he was not being noticed. He was not being listened to, and things like that. That was what he really was missing. That was the thing that made him, very serious about helping homeless people. So we know it's important, and I just wanted to attack that right on. So women do need men, and they really, really have blue balls. These women, they need it, and there's no question about it. And they needed it so bad, they're willing to go against the feminist narrative and say women need men's dicks. Okay, that's what they're saying. Women need dick from men, not from vibrators, not from they need dick from men. That's what this article is saying. That's what this research is saying. And that is not a negative thing. I mean, this is a fact. We know that. Every man knows that when, this is common knowledge, guys. This is not some kind of hateful thing. Any man knows you could have a woman. I mean, literally, this is since the beginning of time. And she's upset, she's complaining, blah, blah, blah. And then you grab her, say your girlfriend, you have sex, you give her a good root, and afterwards she's smiling, she's out laughing, she's out doing things, and her mood has changed, because we know that it affects the mood, guys. Come on. Sex with men and women, it affects the mood of both, right? It makes the the guys never say it, but I'm sure the guys are the same way, right? I know when I finish, I tend to laugh a lot when I finish sex. Like anything makes me laugh. Like just the dumbest thing, I just start laughing. I noticed that about myself, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. Like I'm laughing again right after sex, right? So that's a sign, like an internal, just happiness coming over me, right? It's something that we need. So that's the thing, is what's unspoken is the need for men. Now here, let's delve into some more. This one is dark. Okay, this one is very dark. These are disabled women. Okay, now this is old school here, but in old school times, right, guys would say sometimes that they would give a girl a mercy fuck. And what that meant was they didn't want to, they didn't want to, and this is never talked about in the media, but this, I can tell you right now, it's not very common, but I have definitely given girls mercy fucks, where I felt bad for them. I'll tell you right now, there was a girl, and she was from New York, and she was in Tokyo, and I knew her, I had helped her with various things, and so she just seemed to always be hanging around wherever I was standing, basically. And eventually one day, I remember it was a Friday night, and we were just sitting around with a bunch of friends, and the next thing you know, she's like, it was so obvious to me. Okay, now here's the thing, guys, is if you love humans, okay, which I do, and men and women, okay, you don't want to point this kind of stuff out. This kind of stuff it's tough for girls to admit, okay? What these disabled women admitted is very tough, okay? It's not easy to admit. Women don't like to admit this. Guys like to admit this. They got blue balls, they need it, Women, they don't like to talk about it. They like to kind of get it without having to say it. So I don't want to use this as the women, no, it's just a fact, okay, that's all. And here we're seeing the truth, right? So what I did was, this woman, I remember, the thing is, I mean, for me, like as a guy that's pretty experienced, I I can read situations pretty easily, right? And I know that some women are very, very subtle and very sophisticated when it comes to sex, and other women are quite crude. And you can see this with kissing too. Some women are just excellent, very, very erotic. They know how to kiss, and they might know like 100 different ways of kissing, depending on the situation. They can kind of attenuate it up and down and like go with your motions. They look at your eyes, they can feel where you're at, and they can meet you there, right? That's a very sophisticated, emotional person. Other women really are not good at kissing, they're very crude, and they'll just kind of like stick their face up to you. It's fine. I mean, I appreciate all affection. It's totally fine, but I notice, and it's true, and I'm sure guys are very different too. I'm sure there's a huge difference in how, sexually guys interact. But anyway, women too, right? And so with a woman who is not getting it, they tend to be, in my experience, more on the side of not being so physical and like able to communicate and like to ride with the emotions with you, right? And I call it like melting like chocolate and milk. Like that's a really good fuck, is when you just, both of you together, you like melt together. And it's like just you can feel it. Like it's almost like your souls are just melting, and you're just writhing, and you're just driving, and she's really feeling, and like you both are together on it. It's not like you're doing it to her. It's like the difference between a drummer who can do a great solo on his own, and he's kind of off key with the band, and there's somebody who can really listen, and a real good drummer will be able to listen to the band, and he slows down, speeds up, he feels it, right? Like real jazz, when jazz didn't have anything written down, the guy would play a solo, and you would just like start joining in, right? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. So let's go back to this woman, a New York woman. Next thing you know, she's like, she goes like, as kind of introduction, she goes, I missed my train, And I was like, because that's right. She came to my house. She's like, I've never seen, your neighborhood, I'd like to see. It was like Friday night at like 10 o'clock. And I was like, okay. I honestly, at the time, when we went towards my place, I really didn't even it didn't cross my mind even that she was trying to spend the night or anything with me. I guess I was not paying attention. But anyway, she's a nice person, man. This girl's a nice person. There's no problem with this girl. But she's not attractive, and, this and that. So anyway, we got to my house, and we're sitting there, and then she goes, I missed my train, And I go, okay, you missed your train. And I said, I'm like, you can spend the night here, So I put out a mattress, and I slept on the floor. I gave her the bed. And then I forgot what she said. She came up with some other excuse, and then, it was cold or something, and like you need more warmth or something. And I was like, okay, I get it. And I was like, I really didn't want to do it and it wasn't exactly because of her. It was because we had a lot of friends in common. It wasn't on my mind. I didn't know how she was going to react afterwards. I was a bit worried because women that are not so smooth, let's call it, okay. And again, I said, and I totally stand by it, that both men and women are on both sides of the bell curve on sexuality. And women like this, they tend to be more clingy, because when they get a good guy, they're like, I'm going to hold on to this guy. So I think this is one main reason why guys avoid women like that. It's not that they won't do it. It's not that they're not that attractive, although guys will say that. The reality is they're kind of worried, like, this girl doesn't have much, what is going to happen tomorrow, right? If a guy knew that she just needed it and wanted it, and then it was just going to be over, and then tomorrow they could just be friends, then a lot of guys would be more willing to do it, actually. Anyway, that's what happened with this one. She was quite cool the next day. We never talked about it. We were friends. She went out. She found this girl had a good men picker, I call it. And she found a good guy, and they got married, and she has 2 kids now, two nice kids, and she's super happy. And I see her on Facebook. But anyway, in the end, it was a nice experience, and it was interesting for me. But it was a pretty much every level was what we call like it was like blue balls, right? And that's cool. That's fine. I don't want to, I really, it would be terrible if she felt bad about it. I don't want her to feel bad. And she was nice to me and everything. But I still am talking about the reality. Let's talk about the reality. Okay. The reality of life is that women need it from men. Okay. And sometimes guys give it to her. And I mean, even the term mercy fuck, it's quite a nice term when you think about it, because it is kind of mercy. It's mercy, but not in the pathetic sense, okay? It's not, that's what people always like whenever they talk about sex. It always becomes this kind of like, whatever. I don't know, just kind of weird. But I don't want to say that. I want to say that basically humans are complex sexual beings, and we are all we have in this life. Men have women, women have men. It's like, what? Let's just get along. Let's just do the natural. I just don't. All this vitriol and hatred, I just don't quite get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't jive with my reality at all. So, anyway, I understand why these women would need sex from man, and I think it's cool that they're saying it. But, and here's what I really don't like, is that they are not saying the truth about being disabled. Because I will tell you this, that it is much more difficult for a disabled man to get sex than a disabled woman. That is I am telling you 100%. There is no doubt about it. A disabled woman, let's say deaf or blind or whatever, I remember being on a train. I was on a train in Ibaragi, and there was a deaf school nearby. It was a girls' school, and all the girls came onto the train, and they were talking in sign language and everything. And they sat next to us. Everybody was smiling, and they were laughing. And it was a nice, like, Saturday, beautiful, warm day, and the girls were looking all cute and everything, and they were all like doing hand signals. And you know how girls are that age. They're like laughing and giggling, and there was nobody on the train. It was like at the countryside, right? And I thought to myself, wow, this is actually what I thought. And I talked to several friends about it. So this is not post made up. I thought, wow, like the girls were cute. I thought, wow, I would like to have a deaf girl at some point, because, and not because some guy was going to say something like, they talk too much, whatever. No, I just thought it'd be interesting, and I love languages. So I thought, well, I'll learn sign language, and that would be pretty cool, like, because it's using my language ability along with my physical ability and learning something new that I didn't know, right? That's pretty cool. And I thought, that would be pretty cool. That would be interesting. And the world of deaf people, I'm sure, is quite interesting. It's quite different. They have to deal with different things. And I thought, well, that would be interesting to date a girl who was deaf. And I remember thinking, like, I'll put that on my to-do list kind of thing. I never did it. Although I still, whenever I see a cute deaf girl, I always think to myself, maybe this is the one. I'll go and talk to her, and see if I can maybe learn a few words and then see where that goes. And anyway, I haven't done it, but I mean, I think that disabled women have, normal guys are interested, and they're willing to go there. I have never seen this with women. I mean, I have never seen this. I mean, in my life, disabled men in wheelchairs and stuff, unless the guy's rich, I should say that. No, I have seen that. I have seen wealthy disabled guys who do well with women. Actually, I have seen that. And I have seen women have mercy on men, but it is very rare when it comes to sex. Very, very rare. But it does happen, and I want to tell you guys, because when you hear this, you'll be like, yeah, that's true. Once in a while, I remember this one guy. I was talking to him about women back in the day. This is back in the 20s. We were talking about. I used to talk about women all the time, like trying to figure out how to bone chicks, how to do better this, do better that, how to improve. I was always thinking about it at that time in my 20s. And me and this guy were talking about it, and he said, he goes, I just tell the girls, and he tended to date younger girls, like college girls, and he goes, I just tell the girls, like, it kind of hurts, and when I don't have sex, I feel like very unhappy and sad, and I just kind of feel like just pain, just kind of, could you help me out, and he said like some girls would be like, I can help you out with that, it's okay, I understand, and the girls were cool. They gave him a BJ or whatever, I was like, well, that's interesting, I never want to use this type of tactic. I don't like tactics because I like things where I have to improve myself. I have to challenge myself, and I never go for these easy things. Like I never bought a cute dog, which I know is great for meeting girls. I never bought an expensive car. I never used money. I never got a girl drunk. Not once in my life did I get a girl drunk to have sex with her. I never did any of these. I don't like any of these things because I always want to, I don't want to rely on the easy way because I know I want to improve on myself and then use that as my power. And long term, all those little things together will make a huge difference. That's always been my strategy. I've never taken the easy route when it comes to women, ever. Not once. I just don't. I just fucking won't let myself, It's like I do yoga every day. I just fucking gonna do it. Like, I don't give a fuck. I could be in jail. I'm gonna do yoga. Like, that's just the way it is. Now I might go on another kick. I've been doing this for a couple of years now, but I might go on another health kick. Anyway, I'm going to take care of my health every day. I'm just going to do it, right? So women, there are women who have some kind of, I would say that's similar to a mercy fuck. They're like, I feel sorry for the guy, but why did these disabled women not say the obvious? Because these disabled women, they go to school, disabled schools don't have as many students, men and women have to be there together most of the time. And they know that the guys don't get any sex, like no regular girls. It's tough on them, right? Why didn't they say that? Like, why can't disabled women say, why do they have to be, like, honestly, so fucking selfish? Why can't they say, disabled women, we don't get enough sex, like straight up, and we need men, and we like men, and we want men. So, putting you guys on notice, is that we're looking for men sometimes, right? And this is what women always do. When a woman wears a short skirt, that's what she's saying. Okay, she's saying, hey, I'm available. This is the way that humans operate. This is the way humans mate. When somebody's not interested, they'll wear a hoodie, they'll look away, they'll do different things, different actions. And sometimes people will play games with this and act like they don't understand the power of sex. And then they'll blame it on the other person. So that can happen too, right? But in this episode, I'm just going to talk about this situation. And I think it's pathetic. I think it's pathetic that the women did not mention men. Because I guarantee there are millions more men who are not getting sex, who are disabled. I know a lot of men use prostitutes and things like that. When they can't get sex, they pay for it. And that's probably the solution that a lot of disabled guys use, I would suspect. But why not just say the obvious? Like we need help, okay? We're human, yeah? We want to be noticed, yeah? We want some affection, yeah? Right? This is normal, right? We need that. And you know what? Guys need it even more. Guys, disabled guys are like super lonely, And let's help out the disabled people. Like let's keep disabled sexual needs in mind. That's all they had to say. They didn't have to go into it too much because obviously they're a group of women, but let's state the obvious. Come on. Like it would literally be like a group of women starving in Africa and say women are starving. It's like, yeah, well, when there's a famine going on, like people are starving. All right? People are starving. That is the thing that I want to point out, is that there is a lack of empathy for men at a very, very deep level. And this is one of the biggest reasons, why men are now saying, you know what, you treat me like this, I am not going to play the game like I used to. Like, I deserve to be treated better, and if I'm not, I'm not going to play the game. I'm not going to play the game if I'm going to be treated subhuman, ignored in every article. My needs are going to be totally ignored, even when I need it even worse. Okay? Even when I'm in more pain, right? Even when it's worse for me, the media, society, will not acknowledge my humanity. That is the situation that we're talking about here. And this is why, I think this is why guys will go overboard. You'll see a lot of mixed videos, a lot of anger, this and that. The heart of it is this kind of stuff. Is that humans need certain things. They need to be appreciated. They need to be listened to. They need to be heard. Their needs need to be taken into consideration. Anybody who has children, if you treat one child one way and you treat another child the other way, you will know this is going to have, obviously you would never want to do it as a test, but you can see it with other children, is that this has catastrophic consequences on the kid's future. So let's start to be more human. And I think also from the men's side, I think what I would say is men need to get better. Okay, if you want to get your needs met, you need to be better at articulating the situation without a lot of bringing a lot of baggage from old stuff. Even though it's very easy to do, it's about being even-handed, explaining the situation in a way that people can understand, in a way that shows in this case, for example, the lack of humanity, that men's needs are just ignored. Okay, they are ignored. And even this article, okay, get this. Here's, I'm going to end on this. Women are begging for sex from men here, disabled women, right? And they're saying this is catastrophic. We need media attention, Okay. And even then, goddamn, I forgot what I was going to say. I totally forgot. I'll put it in the comment below. But it's just I hope that we as guys can articulate our pain and our reality better, because it's important, guys. It's important. A lot of guys don't like to accept they have feelings. They're human. And so they'll just go into robot. Well, then I don't need that. No, I'm just going to do this. Meanwhile, they end up making the biggest mistakes of their life. And then it gets worse, right? Solving these kind of issues requires an emotional maturity. It requires a priority, ability to set priority. It requires some wisdom and knowing what to say and what not to say, and when to show empathy and when to, just when to state the facts, right? And I think that's what we need in our community. Men need to speak out, let their voices be heard, and I really mean that. You need to do it. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about a social movement. I'm talking about in your life. You need to be able to say when something is not true, okay? And in that Gillette ad, okay, they were basically saying that men are inherently flawed. And that the way that men deal with disagreements is wrong. Men are more physical. Men use their bodies. And men have a hierarchy, and men just are built, and they do things a certain way, and it's the same with any male in any species. So the ad was basically saying the way that you are, okay, your basic nature is no good. Which means that you are no good. And what that means is you cannot trust your own brain, okay? So already you're destroyed as a young guy. You're like, wow, I'm no good. And then you say, well, how do I get good, right? And how you get good is by looking to people outside you to tell you what is good. And this is the most, it is the most terrible thing to do to any human, because the essential human right a man has and a woman has is to make decisions about what they believe based on their experience, how they feel about life. They have everybody has certain needs, certain wants, certain desires, certain fears. It is your right as a human to listen to yourself and to have your own viewpoint, your own feelings. You have a right for that. That is the thing. And when a human being starts to look outside themselves, like, am I okay? I'm going to look outside myself because I'm not being, for example, with children, I'm not being listened to. No, my mommy and daddy don't listen to me. So what am I going to do? I'm going to start to listen to them. I'm going to start to ask them what I should be doing. And then that sets the child. It could also be called codependency, but there's many different words for it. A lack of self-love, an utter inability to even listen to yourself because you're not looking at yourself. You're not looking at what you think, what you believe, your experience. You're saying, okay, I somehow am flawed. Okay, this is what creates the deep shame in a human being, is when they say, I don't have anything inside, so I have to look outside me for the rules of the road, and I can't trust what's inside myself. And so the child doesn't even listen, doesn't even know what he feels, what he thinks, what he believes. And he looks outside himself. And that beginning, if life begins that way, it becomes very difficult because the man doesn't even know who he is. He has no idea who he is. And he's looking outside himself for what he is and what is good and what is bad. Now, obviously, and I want you, anybody listening to this who doesn't know psychology, isn't aware of like these type of dynamics, I'm not saying that you go, totally on your own and like you take things first and you don't care about other people. That's not at all what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this is what's different. This is why if you raise 3 children, okay, if you tell them, the only way you can be a good kid is if you do the job I did. That's the only good people in the world. They did this job. They're an engineer. If you're not an engineer, you're a loser, you're a leech, you're no good, you don't have any skills, you're useless. If you give a kid that type of message, one kid will become an engineer, right? He'll do what he's supposed to do. And then another kid just can't, he's not interested in that, and he'll do something else, and then he'll be a scapegoat, right? And so it sets these are very serious dynamics at play. You need to trust yourself. Each child has different skills, different likes, different wants. And that is, if he listens to that, and if he slowly improves that, whatever it is that he is good at, whatever it is that he wants, what he believes and what he values, we end up with children and humans and adults which reach amazing abilities and just change the world for the better. So this is no small thing. Men need to listen to themselves. If society is not listening to you, okay, and that is the situation right now, is I want you're not here to take from me and learn. You are here to learn a way of thinking so that you can say, wait a second, who am I at the DNA level? And you go back and you start to realize, and this is a long-term process. And I can tell you this, it's the funnest process, the most amazing process. Even though it's difficult, complicated, long, it's the most amazing journey I've ever been on. And I'll go more deeply into that later in other episodes. I can tell you that. Because in the end, it's like finding yourself. It's like finding that, it's like there's a treasure underneath the ocean that got dumped off. And you were told that you shouldn't listen to yourself. And you're no good. And you're flawed. And that thing's down at the bottom of the ocean. But the good news is that now I'm giving you a radar where you can go beep, 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 beep. And you can say, oh, there it is down there. And you can go down there and you can get that treasure. And that treasure is your real self. Your real self. That is where it's at. That is the gold. The gold is your real self. All right. Signing off. Going to do my yoga. Hope you guys have a very nice day.